Have you ever looked at a relationship or a career path defined by screaming matches, dramatic reconciliations, and sleepless obsession, and thought, "That's so passionate"? Our culture is addicted to confusing intensity for intimacy and chaos for commitment. We mistake the adrenaline rush of constant crises for the fire of a meaningful life. This is a critical psychological error, one that leads people to stay in toxic situations, believing the roller coaster is proof of how much they care. True passion is a sustainable flame that warms and illuminates, not a wildfire that burns everything to the ground. Let's dissect the seductive, dangerous lie that emotional chaos is the same thing as a life fully lived, and discover how to tell the thrilling story from the toxic trap. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between good excitement and bad stress. It just registers arousal. A thrilling first date and a heated argument both flood your body with adrenaline and cortisol. This chemical cocktail is addictive. When you grow up in an environment of instability, or simply live a monotonous life, your brain can start to crave this biochemical spike. Emotional chaos provides it in abundance. The dramatic fight and the passionate makeup become a cycle of hit and withdrawal, mimicking the patterns of substance addiction. You aren't addicted to the person or the job. You're addicted to the internal chemical storm they trigger. This addiction dresses itself in the language of passion, convincing you that if it doesn't hurt, it must not be real love or a true calling. For many, emotional chaos doesn't feel foreign. It feels like home. If your primary caregivers modeled love as a turbulent mix of high-intensity affection and unpredictable anger or withdrawal, that becomes your blueprint. Your brain wires itself to associate love with anxiety, with waiting for the other shoe to drop. As an adult, a calm, stable relationship can feel boring, even suspicious, because it lacks the familiar, activating turbulence. You might unconsciously provoke drama to recreate the passionate intensity of your childhood home, mistaking the anxiety of walking on eggshells for deep engagement. True passion feels safe enough to be vulnerable, not dangerous enough to be constantly alert. Look at the stories we glorify. Films, songs, and novels endlessly romanticize the tumultuous love affair, the tortured artist, the burning the candle at both ends pursuit of a dream. This narrative sells us a powerful lie, that suffering is a prerequisite for greatness, and that calm is synonymous with complacency. We are taught that if you're not emotionally exhausted, you're not trying hard enough. If your relationship isn't a battlefield, you must not care deeply. This cultural conditioning primes us to seek out and justify chaos, labeling it as passion. We fear that a peaceful life is a boring one, so we invite the storm and call it spark, confusing the destruction of our own peace for the heat of a meaningful existence. Sometimes, people choose emotional chaos, not for the high, but to avoid the terrifying opposite, a flat, numb emptiness. In a state of depression or disconnection, any strong feeling, even pain or anger, can be preferable to the void. The screaming match, the obsessive worry over a project, the jealous frenzy, they all prove you can still feel something. This negative intensity is misinterpreted as passion because it is the most vivid sensation available. It becomes a perverse proof of life. You'd rather be a storm-tossed ship than one stuck in a dead calm. So you mistake the hurricane for a journey, confusing the drama that makes you feel alive with a life that is actually worth living. Emotional chaos provides a compelling, if painful, story for your ego to star in. You are the star-crossed lover, the misunderstood genius, the martyr fighting against the odds. This dramatic narrative feeds a sense of self-importance that a calm, balanced life often lacks. Passionate stability is quiet. It doesn't have a three-act plot, with villains and grand obstacles. The ego, which craves definition and significance, latches onto chaos because it creates a clear role. The sufferer, the fighter, the intense soul. You confuse this self-aggrandizing drama for passion, not realizing you are choosing a painful story over a peaceful reality, all because your ego prefers a thrilling tragedy to a simple, unscripted joy. The early stages of infatuation and the throes of conflict share a startlingly similar neurochemical profile. Both involve dopamine, the craving and reward chemical, and norepinephrine, which increases alertness and focus. Your brain is literally high on the uncertainty and pursuit. In a chaotic dynamic, you are perpetually in a state of will. Won't they or crisis and resolution? which keeps this addictive chemical cocktail flowing. You interpret this biochemical turbulence as a sign of profound passion, when it is merely a sign of profound unpredictability. True, mature connection shifts to the quieter, more secure chemistry of oxytocin and steady endorphins, which feel less like a thrilling high and more like a deep, warm contentment. A feeling often downgraded by a chaos-addicted mind as boring. We mistakenly equate volatility with profundity. The assumption is that if something is calm on the surface, it must be shallow, and if it's constantly churning, it must be deep. This leads to the belief that a relationship with daily explosions is more real or deep than one with consistent kindness. A career filled with frantic, last-minute panic feels more meaningful than one with steady, disciplined progress. Emotional chaos creates the illusion of depth because it demands so much of your attention and energy. You're constantly plumbing its turmoil, so it feels significant. In contrast, real depth, whether in love or work, is often quiet, built slowly over time, and doesn't need to scream for your attention. You confuse the loudness of the chaos with the substance of the connection. Paradoxically, emotional chaos can be a fortress against genuine intimacy. Real intimacy requires vulnerability, dropping your guard, and being seen in your calm, mundane, and imperfect reality. That is terrifying. A constant state of dramatic crises provides a perfect distraction. You are too busy managing the latest emergency to ever have the quiet, vulnerable conversation that truly connects souls. The fighting feels intimate because it's intense and personal, but it's actually a form of counter-intimacy, a shared battlefield that keeps you from ever meeting on peaceful common ground. You confuse the intense entanglement of conflict for the deep interweaving of souls, choosing the safety of a shared war over the risk of a shared peace. In toxic situations, a powerful physiological trap forms, called a trauma bond. It occurs when cycles of abuse, neglect, or intense conflict are intermittently rewarded with affection, praise, or reconciliation. This creates a powerful, addictive bond stronger than many healthy attachments. Your nervous system becomes welded to the cycle of destruction and reward. This bond manufactures a counterfeit feeling of passion, an intense, desperate longing and connection that is chemically reinforced by the relief of the good phase. You are not feeling passionate love. You are experiencing a biochemical addiction to a person who is the source of both your pain and your relief. The chaos isn't passion. It's the laboratory where this addictive bond is synthesized. Passion often involves caring deeply, and we mistakenly believe that caring deeply must look like crisis. We create high-stakes dramas to mimic importance. A relationship filled with jealousy and suspicion feels high stakes, therefore it must matter more. A project perpetually on the brink of failure feels urgent, therefore it must be more passionate. This is a confusion of scale. True passion is what you consistently show up for, not what you frantically save from the fire you set. The quiet dedication to a craft, the daily choice to be kind to a partner, these are low drama but high commitment. You've mistaken the screaming volume of chaos for the profound weight of authentic, sustained investment. Many people have never learned to recognize the nuanced spectrum of healthy emotion. If your emotional world has been binary, either numb or explosive, you lack the internal vocabulary for the rich middle ground. The steady warmth of secure affection, the quiet thrill of focused flow, the deep satisfaction of shared silence. These states are unknown. Therefore, when a more complex, mature form of passion emerges, it is misinterpreted as a lack of feeling. You dismiss the gentle current because you're waiting for the tidal wave. Without an internal emotional compass calibrated to peace, you can only navigate by the familiar, violent storms, labeling any disturbance on the radar as your true north of passion. In a world of curated social media highlights, there is pressure not just to live, but to be seen living passionately. Emotional chaos is highly performative. The dramatic breakup post, the late-night rants about artistic struggle, the volatile public displays, they all create a visible, gripping story. Quiet contentment, deep work, and stable love are far less cinematic. You may unconsciously amp up the chaos in your life because it feels like proof you are living an important, interesting story worth telling. The passion becomes externalized, a show for an audience, rather than an internal state of being. You confuse the performance of intense feeling with all its public fallout and plot twists. For the private, sustaining fire of a genuine passion that needs no witness. A deep, often unspoken belief plagues many, that an ordinary life is a failed life. Emotional chaos is a weapon against the ordinary. It ensures every day is unpredictable, every conversation is loaded, and your life never looks or feels mundane. This rejection of the peaceful ordinary leads you to label any disruption as passion, because passion is the antonym of boring. You haven't learned that the most profound passions are often woven into the fabric of the ordinary, a steady commitment that transforms simple moments rather than obliterating them. The chaos isn't adding passion to your life. It's merely destroying the peace, and you are misinterpreting the resulting rubble as a more exciting landscape. The escape from this confusion begins with a simple, profound question. Does this energize me or deplete me? True passion, even when challenging, is fundamentally energizing. It builds your resilience, expands your spirit, and leaves you with more capacity than you started with. Emotional chaos is fundamentally depleting. It drains your resources, shrinks your world to the latest crises, and leaves you exhausted. Start auditing your emotions, not for their volume, but for their residue. Does this feeling leave me feeling whole or hollow? Clear or confused? Passion connects you to yourself and your purpose. Chaos disconnects you. Learn to feel for the aftertaste, not just the initial, intense flavor. The fire that warms you never needs to burn your house down. Real passion is not a noise. It is a direction. It is the quiet, persistent pull toward what matters, not the loud, frantic reaction to what hurts. It is the deep focus in a painter's eyes, not the dramatic flinging of a brush. It is the secure silence between two people who know they are loved, not the explosive fight that demands proof. This sustainable fire doesn't need constant fanning with drama. It burns clean on the fuel of genuine interest and care. Choose to value consistency over chaos, depth over drama, and the gentle, enduring warmth that builds a life over the spectacular, destructive blaze that merely leaves a story. Your passion is not measured by the wreckage you endure, but by the world you patiently, quietly build.